In this lecture series, we'll examine the market revolution. And what we're looking at is really the first half of the 19th century, or the first half of the 1800s. And we see a rise in industrialization, a rise in immigration, a rise in urbanization. We see westward expansion, the opening up of new markets, and interconnectivity between those markets. So the U.S. economy is growing. And also we're seeing an expansion of trade outside of American borders. All of this growth in America is facilitated and in many ways stimulated by a revolution in transportation and communication. So it's during this time that we see the implementation of railroads, the advent of the steamboat, and the construction of the Erie Canal. And it's during this time that we see the invention of Morse code and the telegraph, allowing people to communicate over long distances virtually instantaneously. The transportation revolution also facilitated further movement westward, deeper into the American frontier, which of course has negative implications for several people groups, namely Native Americans, Mexicans, as we'll see with the Mexican-American War, and African Americans, because as we expand westward and open up new territories and new states, slavery expands with it. But all of these changes, these vast and rapid changes to American ways of life, are contributing to the molding of a uniquely American identity, one that is increasingly based on economic opportunity, physical mobility, and participation in the democratic system. These were freedoms that weren't enjoyed by all Americans, certainly not by women nor by African Americans during this time, but these became closely tied to Americans' ideas of freedom and American identity. We also see some counter revolutions. We see some counterculture movements emerge, particularly the Transcendentalists, with prominent members like Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau, calling on people to be virtuous individuals first and foremost, to be loyal to all things right and not to be caught up with the majority, not to be caught up in these mass movements or these drives and ambitions for accumulating wealth. Instead, the Transcendentalists wanted Americans to be firm in their individual judgment. The Second Great Awakening also challenges the status quo. It challenges the traditional Protestantism grounded in the Anglican Church that had dominated religion in the colonies and in the early years of the independent nation of the United States. And it opens up room for new interpretation, new doctrine, and it gives rise to many, many new denominations. And with that, new emphasis on the freedom of religious expression, or the right to worship the God of your choosing and in the way of your choosing. This lecture series is divided into subtopics to allow you to listen to the series in smaller doses, and also go back and re-listen if necessary in smaller doses without having to navigate through the entire series in one recording. The subtopics for this lecture series include a new economy, market society, the free individual, and the limits of prosperity. And of course, as always, if as you listen to any one of these lectures or after reviewing the entire series, you have any questions about the content, please feel free to either email me or post your question to the coffee shop discussion board in Canvas so that your peers can get engaged in a discussion around the question as well.